Tim Taylor, co-founder of The Great Discovery, has a line that I love to quote, which is, sales are good for business. Businesses need revenue. That is their lifeblood. That is the key measure of a business, is money coming in. And one of the best ways to get money to come in is to ask people for their money in exchange for goods and services. This sounds kind of obvious, and yet many entrepreneurs that I meet forget that important step. That's why question 7 of the 9 foundational questions of business is, how do you sell it? What is the sales process? In other words, what do you do that leads to you saying, would you like to give me some money for the thing? Because if you don't do that, you tend not to make any money. This seems pretty obvious, but it's easy to get caught up in the weeds and say, okay, so I'm going to do 29 videos, I'm going to set up a website and a landing page, I'm going to run a summit, I'm going to build an email list, I'm going to do all these things. I'm still not making any money. Why am I not making it? Where's the money? Oh, I forgot to ask for the money. Sometimes we have this field of dreams marketing concept. If you build it, they will come. And they may come. But usually they still won't buy from you unless you ask them to, or at least give them a way to do so. So the answer to this question 7 is fundamentally, how do you turn audience members, or how do you turn prospects into customers? How do you get people from, I'm interested in learning more, to here's my credit card, here's my money, here's my Venmo, whatever the methodology is. It's, how do you get them to buy? What's that final step, final conversation? There's different ways to do it. It could be a landing page where they buy the thing. It could be a Shopify store. It could be on Amazon. But the other thing to consider is that the sales process is sometimes more than you think it is. So I've got some of my books behind me here, and people buy my books. And that's not the sales process, right? Those are Q9 answers. Q9 is, how do you turn strangers into audience members? How do you generate leads? Books generate leads, not sales. Each of those books, when you buy one of them on Amazon, I make about $3.90. I would have to sell a lot of books to pay the bills, to pay the mortgage for this lovely house I live in. The books put you into my universe so we can eventually get to the conversation where I can make a sale. And this is crucial to understand. Having a book isn't a sales strategy. Even having a webinar isn't a sales strategy. At some point, you need to get to the point where they are going to be given the choice of, you should buy something, here is how, would you like to do so? The most direct way is a sales conversation, which could be by cold calling, leading into an appointment, into a presentation and eventually an offer. It could be something like a YouTube channel that invites people to book a call to have an additional conversation. It could be a webinar, masterclass, live masterclass, summit, virtual event that leads people into a one-on-one call. There's all kinds of things that lead to a one-on-one call. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to go to some kind of landing page. You could have maybe an ad, maybe a social media channel, maybe a YouTube video, whatever leads to a landing page. And on there, the offer is made. You could also do a one-to-many, such as a webinar or a masterclass, where at the end you make an offer. And if they're interested, they go to still a landing page, but the landing page is more a means to an end. It's not a sales page. It's simply the place they are going to check out, so to speak. The equivalent of that live is you give a speech on a stage, and there's a table in the back of the room. And anyone who's interested can go to the back of the room, and they can sign up if you have impressed them there. Whatever it is, there's dozens of strategies, dozens of different answers to this question of how do you sell it. What's important is you need an answer to the question. The answer could be, I am incredibly charming and I'm a great teacher. People are going to see my content. They're going to ask me how they can buy. I'm going to take their money. That could work. I wouldn't recommend it unless it's already working. That tends to be something you trip into, not something you choose, because you got to be a really, really good speaker for that to work. But that could work. That could be your strategy. Some people's strategy is people send me introductions and I take their money. Totally. There's absolutely businesses like that where they just have such a good reputation like that. What's important isn't what the answer is. What is important is that you have an answer and you understand, what is my method? Where do I get people to buy and how do I get people to buy? Otherwise, you don't have a business. You got a very expensive hobby, maybe a bunch of fans, but no business. And you don't want a business where you have only fans. Well, that's a whole different business model. And they're selling through a landing page. We're not getting into that. But you don't want a business where it's exclusively fans and no conversion into customers. So you want raving fans, but you want those raving fans to be your paying customers as well. So how do you sell the thing you sell? Share in the comments. Give me your thoughts.